see the density and then this mix.
That's Andy Williams.
Andy Williams. Thank you, Andy, for starting us out today. Today's December 13th, 2018, and it's the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners business meeting. Also, we have here today Paul Reynolds, who will be, he's a Housing Authority Commissioner, highly paid. Actually, he's a volunteer. And also, Commissioner Schrader and Fisher are out of the office, but Commissioner Fisher's on the phone. So, Don, please take the roll.
Thank you very much, and good morning on a beautiful winter day. We have Mr. Stephen Madcore here, your county council, and we also have Mary Rathke serving as your clerk to the board. I'll start with a roll call with Commissioner Fisher on the phone. Commissioner Fisher?
Here.
Commissioner Humberston?
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Here.
Commissioner Savas?
Here.
Chair Bernard?
Here. Please join me in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I rarely wear a tie today, but today we have a kind of a celebration. But we're going to now recess as a Board of County Commissioners and convene as a Housing Authority for the next item. And again, Paul Reynolds is a Commissioner on the Housing Authority Board. Thank you. Okay, ask the clerk to read the Housing Authority consent agenda by title.
Okay, today's Housing Authority consent agenda. In the matter of writing off uncollectible accounts for the second quarter of fiscal year 2019, and approval of Resolution 1935 to apply for 4% low-income housing tax credits for the renovation of Hillside Manor through Oregon Housing and Community Services.
Does any commissioner want to remove an item? No. Therefore, I will entertain a motion.
I move we approve the Housing Authority consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the Housing Authority consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. And with that, I'll announce that we'll adjourn as the Housing Authority Board and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. And thank you for your valuable input.
Thank you.
Thank you. Since 2013, the Family Justice Center, a place in Clackamas County, has been helping individuals and families by providing support and safety planning for anyone experiencing family violence, sexual violence, stalking, or abuse against older adults and people with disabilities. We are proud to recognize the 5-year anniversary of the Family Justice Center and the wonderful professionals who work there. Also, in recognition of the need for more space for the Family Justice Center, we have identified an expanded location in our planned building in Red Soil's master plan to be located along the curve on Beaver Creek Road, opposite the entrance to Kane Road. See, you tried to get ahead of me. Which is something we've been talking about for a long time, at least 5 years. Anyway, I'd like to introduce our Clackamas County Sheriff Greg Roberts and Melissa Earlbaum from Clackamas Women's Services, who will share more information about the Family Justice Center and a safe place. Thank you for joining us today.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Craig Roberts, Sheriff with Clackamas County. Gotta make sure that's on. And it's an honor to be here today. And Melissa and I are arguing about who gets to go first. I was trying to get her to go first, and she said, no, you go first. So I'm going to go ahead and start talking about the wonderful work at the Family Justice Center. And again, thank all of you for your support for the Family Justice Center. There's just a number of countless partners, and I'd just like to briefly cover some of those partners that we have there, because it really is about all of us working together to make a difference. And I can tell you that without a doubt, it has saved a number of lives having the Family Justice Center. Most recently, one not that long ago, and I can't go into the details of it, but had the actions of the Family Justice Center and that team not been there, we unfortunately would have suffered a tragedy as a result of it. So it is truly life-saving work. It is about all the individuals coming together to make that difference. So we have the Clackamas County District Attorney Victims Assistance Office is an amazing partner. The DA's office, the Vulnerable Adult Unit, the Clackamas County Health, Housing, and Human Services. Obviously, our office, Clackamas Women's Services, are an amazing partner. Department of Human Services, Aging and People with Disabilities, Department of Human Services, Self-Sufficiency, Legal Aid Services of Oregon, the Portland Region Office, Victim Rights Law Center, just to mention a few of the partners. I want to just highlight some of the amazing work over the last 5 years. There's over 4,000 residents have been served by a safe place. There's been over 20,200 visits for service at the Family Justice Center. What's really amazing is they have actually had over 1,400 protective orders remotely applied for through our video court program. And over $3 million in state and federal grant funds have come through the Family Justice Center as partners benefiting clients of a safe place. Another amazing program, which I know many of you are aware of, is Camp Hope, and it is amazing to see all the staff that are at the Family Justice Center participating in Camp Hope and really changing the generations to come for those who have experienced family violence. An amazing group that always touches my heart is actually the Survivors Committee called Voices, and the courageous women that have the ability to tell their story. I know we have them here. I just want to say my heartfelt thanks for the courage to tell their stories, which helps other women and other individuals getting out of this situation. One of the great things happening at the Family Justice Center also is the high-risk response team. It was formed in 2014. It's a multidisciplinary team at the Family Justice Center, partners working together to prevent domestic violence homicides and reassaults through increasing both offender accountability and victim safety, and really closing the gaps in the system. They've had over 120 cases. We receive on that about 24 cases a year with domestic violence victims who are extreme risk for lethality and have been staffed and come up with a plan to increase providing wraparound services and safety for those survivors. Also, the lethality assessment program was implemented to all law enforcement agencies in Clackamas County. There's also been an amazing legislative advocacy group which has helped pass Oregon's enhanced felony strangulation law. And again, Melissa Earlbaum has just been amazing and at really rallying a tremendous amount of support in her leadership and helping pass that law, which again will save countless lives. And other things occurring at the Family Justice Center is providing support to neighboring counties on creating family justice centers in their community. And I know that Melissa and our staff has worked really hard to help Washington County, who's also been moving in this direction, and as well as Marion County. Just a number of other services that I could go on, from mental health counseling, expanded services for children and youth, but it really comes down to the compassion and caring that the staff have at the Family Justice Center for those who are oftentimes going through one of the most traumatic incidents in their entire life, and to see the wraparound services of everybody coming together with the sole mission of making sure that we're providing services is absolutely amazing. So I could not be more proud of the staff at the Family Justice Center, who are really the frontline individuals keeping women and children safe in our community. So thank you.
Chair Bernard and members of the commission, thank you for the opportunity to provide these remarks. Is it not on? Is it on?
That's all right.
Yeah? Okay, great. All right. A safe place is a collaboration and a community. Collaboration is a powerful tool. It provides us with the opportunity to amplify our strengths, an opportunity to create collective and lasting change, and to accomplish more than any one piece alone. Collaboration is also messy and challenging and can even be exhausting at times. Collaboration is about believing in the best of intentions, even during disappointment and conflict. It's rarely about being right and almost never about winning. It's about showing up every single day. Collaboration calls on us not just to find ways to work together, but to challenge ourselves to be our best selves and to work for a good that is greater than our own. Collaboration is a mechanism by which we hold space, and community is that space. It is a space where healing and hope and growth and change occurs. Thank you to the individuals and families who bravely share their experiences with us, who trust us with their story, who trust us in their vulnerable moments, and share with us their resiliency and strength. Thank you. You are the voice and the foundation of our work. Thank you to the Army of Volunteers who share our story out in the community and create connections, serving as ambassadors for our cause. Thank you to the givers, the donors, the board members, the supporters who give their time, their resources, and talents. Thank you to the fundraisers who work tirelessly to write the next grant, ask the supporter for that gift, build private and public partnerships to create investments, and host events for us to celebrate. Thank you to the change makers who hold the long view and strategically bring us incremental, lasting change. Thank you to the civic community leaders and elected officials who use their platform to support this work. Thank you to the community partners who pick up the phone when we call and show up over and over again. And last, but certainly not least, thank you to a network of professionals across all of our systems who show up day in and day out, who stretch to be their best selves, who hold offenders accountable and fight for justice, who greet our visitors, who hold space for the day-to-day work of providing services while also participating in a larger movement, who give the community the tools for prevention and social change, who run towards the crisis and towards the emergency, who respond to that emergency call, and who stay back to pick up the pieces, who do the paperwork and pay the bills, who give witness, and who stay in the arena. A safe place is a community. We strive to create a community that pierces through the isolation of domestic and sexual violence. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think more importantly than everyone else, the two people sitting up here brought this idea to us over 5 years ago, probably 7, and it happened because of your salesmanship and the visits we made up. Was that in Idaho or yeah, in Idaho? You know, it really sold us all. And you know, every life saved. You know, the best investment we can make is in the children and families in situations like this, because you can save a child and save a family if you get in there early enough. And our biggest problem is that not enough people know about it. And maybe, Dawn, before you leave, you can maybe start the process to put a sign up there that says future home of the Family Justice Center. If Oregon City is open to it, we should start the process because it's a great way to start. And I've always thought that is great work that Clackamas Women's Services and the investments you've made. It's time that the county provide more access to shelter and childcare and all those things. And there's a great opportunity to do that now while we're in the master planning process. It's also a great opportunity to focus fundraising on the future home. I'm going to see first if Sonia has anything to say because she's on the phone and doesn't have a light. Sonia? Maybe she's not there.
Sonia, are you still there?
Oh, yes, I was listening to the presentation, which has a little bit of a lag, and I really appreciate the comments and conversation. Can you hear me?
Yes. Sounds like there's somebody else online.
A little bit of a lag, and I really appreciate
Oh.
the comments and conversations.
So she needs to mute that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you need to mute the live feed. We hear that. Technology has made life so much easier. So I'd like to buy 1,000 shares of,
Now that's an echo, right? Boomerang.
all right, try it. You want to try it, Sonia? Let's
Let's come back to Sonia.
all right, so I don't know, Paul?
was first. Yeah, I just want to just kind of build on what Jim said. As both of you were speaking, I was reflecting back on where we've been, where we came from, at least from my point of experience. And that was, I remember in 2010, actually, going to CWS, downtown Oregon City, and the offices there. And coming on the commission, Craig handing me a little pamphlet brochure about the Family Justice Center model and introducing the concept. And then, of course, we got the Family Justice Center underway. Melissa, your help, collaboration with so many people to make this happen. And so we got that model going, knowing we would outgrow it someday, that it was just a short-lived opportunity. And then the tremendous effort and the collaboration to build or rebuild the shelter, the women's shelter. So I think it's something that collaboration is the key word, and you use that, Melissa, in your comments, and all the people that helped contribute to that cause, members of the board that are in the audience. Technology today, and so I just want to just say, that we have a lot to be proud of, and I just appreciate a lot of people, efforts in the room here today who are not in the room, who are also part of this, and those who, again, the Home Builders Foundation for the work they did, and those that helped contribute to the effort of that and this facility outside across the street. I can literally say right over there to my left is that future home. So it's very exciting times, and I think we all in this room have a lot to be proud of. So thank you all.
Ken?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've said all along for many years that there's two important steps in government in general and NGOs, et cetera. And one of those things, of course, is on a daily basis, it's our obligation to keep the trains running and provide the general services that people have become used to and that they pay their taxes for. But there's another thing that we should always be thinking about, and that is how do you move the needle that makes people's lives better? And I think that if you can't answer that question, you shouldn't even be sitting at this dais. What you have done has made people's lives better. You have changed people's lives. You have saved people's lives. And that is what we always should try to be thinking about. And I really appreciate everything that you've done. And I think there's some 4,000 people out there that appreciate everything you've done. So thank you.
So, Sonia, we're going to try you again.
Hey there.
Hi.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again, and I'm sorry I was watching on my live stream and I couldn't do it in real time, and I got all flustered and confused here. But I so support the work that we're doing here in Clackamas County, and just really applaud everyone, the whole community, as Melissa stated, that makes this work for some of our most vulnerable families. And especially at this time at the holidays, families are so very important, really the foundation of our whole structure in our society, and we must continue to invest in our families. So those were just some of my thoughts as I was watching the presentation today. So thank you.
Thank you. And
Sure.
did you want to add something?
Yeah, I wanted to just take a moment and thank the entire board for the commitment and dedication to having a site identified for us. It is really huge, where we could begin the fundraising and generate the funds needed to really have a future Family Justice Center. This is a huge step for all of us, and I want to really extend my thanks to the entire board. And also, I just want to turn around and recognize really CWS's board. We have some board members here that have really worked diligently to help kind of move many things forward in supporting Safe Place. And just lastly, it is about the frontline staff, touching the lives of each person every day. So my thanks to all of you for the amazing work you do, and can't support you enough in your efforts, so thanks.
Well, if you'd like to introduce the board, you're welcome to. No?
Okay. Well,
It's okay? All right, so,
I think that they would probably say that they want to focus on the work that everyone does on a day-to-day basis, and, yeah, happy anniversary from them.
all right, so I have a little plaque, which we'd like to present, and it's Family Justice Center, A Safe Place, in recognition of 5 years of outstanding service to Clackamas County citizens. Our sincere appreciation, December 13, 2018, Clackamas County Board of Commissioners, and you know who we all are. So why don't we come up and take a picture? Now, if the board would like to participate in the picture, they can. Please.
All right, everybody come on up. This is a family group picture.
Should we bring some folks back here?
Amazing team.
Some folks can come back here. Yeah, come on back here, everyone. And if we can all just kind of.
I know, can we still put a tall person in the middle?
I know, right?
See, you're necessary. You have to be in this picture.
Thank you for the cookies.
I knew you'd cheat on your diet. I got to you.
Me. Oh, yeah, you're tall. Hey, Rod. I trust you to stand behind Rod.
Okay, this looks pretty good. So, do a couple here on 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Very nice.
We'll wait a few minutes for everyone to leave. Of course, we have a 6-hour meeting today. You're ready. You're welcome to stay.
This is from Mr. Newmeyer.
All right, looks like mostly the room is cleared, so Mr. Niemeyer and Les Poole, please come up and tell us your name and where you're from. Mr. Niemeyer, I think years ago you sent me some photos, maybe, of the, yes. Yeah. I think you did probably 8, 9 years ago.
I've been campaigning for that piece of property for 20 years.
Yeah. Good.
So John Niemeyer, 15 82nd Drive, Suite 210, Gladstone. I sent all of you a packet on this, an email and a packet of the appeal that I've put in. And I got a letter from Carolyn Hill, and she basically said that I it's kind of in the planning commission's hands and then in the hearing officer's court. I think this is a little different, and in that the property is owned by the county, and the county wants development. I am not against development. There's development going on immediately adjacent to it, and you haven't heard a word from me on that. But the planning commission, it's kind of like a judge being the presiding judge or over his own DUI trial. The planning department really answers to the county, and the county owns the property. There's been no public testimony on this because of the 300-foot notice. I'm the only person that gets notice because I own the tip of the Bybee Island. This development is just wrong. It's up on that bench is where the compost operation was. First of all, the soils, I mean, the engineers are going to deal with that, but there was illegally placed fill there that I got removed in years past. And there's already things that the county's kind of already started looking, putting a blind eye to. One is the delineation of the habitat conservation area. It's clearly delineated, it's flagged, but on the drawings that were submitted, they merely moved that line over 20 feet towards the river so that they could get the building on this site. There's a retaining wall that's a huge retaining wall. It's 1,000 feet long and it's going to be 10 to 15 feet high. And there's no plans for it. So that hasn't been reviewed. And yet if I hadn't appealed, it would be approved as submitted. I just think that the commissioners need to kind of look at this and be sure that things are going to be gone. Thousands of people go down that river, boating, fishing, floating every year, and today they do not see an industrial building because of the vegetation. This building, as designed, because it's extended out over the lip, about 20 feet over the lip, cannot be screened. If they move it back 10, 15 feet, then there could be plantings. But I just would plead that you as commissioners take a stronger keep an eye on this, because the county has had a bad track record on that piece of property. The failure to enforce the conditionals, the conditions of the conditional use. They allowed that fill to be placed. Only from my filing a violation notice did it get removed. They allowed the expansion of the operation outside of the approved site, and they allowed hazardous pesticides, fungicides, and fertilizers to be dumped into the floodplain that I finally had to go to DEQ. They stepped in. The operation was eventually shut down, and the person there was fined. I'm very supportive of Clackamas County. I love the river. I've given over 300 scholarships to Clackamas Community College, and I continue to support Clackamas County. Please take a close look at this. That's all I ask.
Well, we will take a look at some of the screening issues you had, but one of the problems with this site is that it was bought with urban renewal money, and it was borrowed from the transportation department. So we need to give that back to them. So we need to sell. I mean, we need to develop it. But You know, we actually closed that place down, and your photos helped. Because I went and saw that site when I first got here. I think you sent me those photos like 8, 9 years ago. You know, and we had great concerns, and we cut them off when we had an opportunity. The contract allowed us to. But we'll take a look at the screening and if there's any possibility of doing a little better job protecting the
Well, I
views.
can say, it's going to stand 80 feet in the air above the river, and nothing else does.
Yeah. I wanted to add one thing. Have you been over there?
Yes,
So have you been to our new wetlands project that we're doing over there?
that's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. So we're trying to address some of those stormwater processes, and there was an underwater creek that was so far deep that they didn't know it was as deep as it was, and we've done some wonderful work there trying to reproduce or produce wildlife areas and process the water. So I think Wes' partnership with TTD have just done some amazing work. So we'll take a look at that.
Okay, I appreciate it.
I have two people, Paul first.
Yeah, I'd just like to respond. Jim did touch on a couple of things I wanted to speak to as well, so I'll adjust my comments accordingly. I mean, I've been a resident for 30-plus years in this county, and when I was on the water board 20 years ago or so, maybe not 20 years ago, 17 years ago, I immediately recognized that our drinking water comes from the Clackamas River, that the value and the quality of that water, even for the habitat, it's extremely important, and what the good work the watersheds do and so forth, the watershed councils should do, and really have gotten the better idea now in past years and today as to the concerns and why we need to protect what is really a very pristine river. With that said, since being a county commissioner, we have taken some pretty good steps, I feel, to make sure, for example, that the grading of any particular site along that way is such that any kind of rainwater or stormwater would, or any spills that would actually move itself away by grading away from the river and towards an ability to capture that in a responsible way. And that's just part of good stewardship. The not really flood control, but the water quality project, we're investing millions that Jim just referenced there, and apparently you've seen some of that. That's not only an opportunity for protecting the water quality downstream, but also from a beautification standpoint. And I would definitely want to make sure, and thank you for bringing this to our attention, that there is a buffering so that people that enjoy the river don't have to look at some, facility that is not appealing to the eye and doesn't blend in with all the other. Well, we have taken a number of steps to make sure that that part of the river, which borders our industrial area, that it's very sensitive to the environment. And I would love to meet with you and get from your backyard or the property you own, get that perspective to better understand it, because I don't think I've had that view.
I would welcome it.
So I would make sure my staff follows up, and then we can get together sometime soon and better understand what's going on with the Planning Commission and this application of this site.
All right, thank you. Ken?
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Bernard and I are going to go out and take a look at it. I've been nearby, but I'm not sure I know exactly the spot, so I want to see it personally. I wanted to back up to some comments that you made so that I understand them. You said a line got moved by 20 feet so that they could change the footprint of where they wanted the building to be set. Could you explain that a little more for me, please?
So the habitat conservation area has been delineated. It's flagged, and it is at the lip of the plateau. I'm going to call it a plateau, is where this is being built. There's going to be an additional up to 10 feet of additional fill on top of that plateau at the west end. Their roadway going to the parking is on the river side of the building, and they are putting a retaining wall, a 1,000-foot retaining wall along that fill. That fill is extremely steep. It's about a 60-degree slope, because when they pulled the fill out, they just pulled it out, so it's very steep. So this retaining wall is supposed to be behind the delineation. But, and I can show you, I can actually show you actually have a copy of the map, but the retaining wall is about 10 to 20 feet towards the river.
Encroaching on the habitat conservation area.
Approaching on the habitat conservation area as delineated, not as drawn on their drawing.
If I remember right, we negotiated that with DEQ because we had a session on that.
That might be
I don't think it was
before
that
my
property,
time.
Jim. I think it was a different property.
And I don't,
Maybe I'm wrong.
I still haven't figured out how they're gonna build this retaining wall because that slope is, it's 30 feet tall and it's 60 degrees. And the retaining wall is going to be on that slope. And the habitat, improvement is going to be on that slope. You can't climb that slope. It takes a ladder or a rope. So, as I say, it's mind-boggling to me.
But the bottom line is they're basically encroaching on the habitat conservation area by about 20 feet, thereby
10 to
reducing
20
the
feet.
reducing the size of the conservation area.
That's correct.
Thank you. Just want to be sure I understood it.
Well, and they have negotiated to enhance an area for habitat they're taking over on the north side of the property. They don't even talk about this side of the property. I'm a developer, I'm a home builder. I understand these things, and this totally is mind-boggling to me.
Thank you.
As designed, it cannot be screened. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I think I got that in
Yeah.
the first part. So I'm sure Commissioner Thomas and I would gladly meet with you and refamiliarize ourselves with the particular application and just that barrier you're speaking to.
So my hearing is the 27th, so sooner than later, if we could do it.
Of what month?
December.
December.
December, okay.
Nice time to have it between
27th.
Christmas and New Year's. I tried to get it moved, but they wouldn't move it.
Les,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners and Chair Bernard. Appreciate your giving that gentleman the response you did. I keep driving that home, that here in Clackamas County, if someone comes with a viable issue, not a trick question, we get some response and we have some dialogue, and I think it goes a long ways. I really do. So let's keep it up. In yesterday's Clackamas Review, and I've sent it out to a couple other newspapers, I put an op-ed about the vehicle registration fee that's planned, and it's very clear in my letter to the newspaper that I and others are troubled by the introduction of this during the election cycle, and we're already rolling down the road with it. And we're rolling down the road with it, and what I mean by that is we're having meetings on it, the process is rolling along, and we haven't really had a discussion of it. We haven't really had a response as to, do we really need this money? Or there's a question. You're hearing, of course, that you do. And I'm questioning that, and others are. When we look at how much has been put into the budget for roads each year, we notice the last couple of years it's dropped. And now it seems like we're going to backfill it with this. I'm not here to question whether or not we have a need. I understand that the gas tax that was 5-cent per gallon gas tax that the county's receiving isn't going to make up for all of the lack of maintenance and attention in the past. And I and others understand you inherited a problem. And for 4 years now, literally at least once a month, I'm here on that problem, and that problem's transportation. And that problem shouldn't be growing, and it is. That problem is best defined by a lack of prioritization in general by government. Not by the county as much, but government in general. A lack of focus on the roads, a lack of careful planning of the roads because we're spending so much time and money and energy everywhere else. I don't have time to explain how new starts and fundings and grants work. I understand that there are a lot of things that the county is doing and a lot of limits on what the county is doing with their transportation planning, transportation dollars, and that yes, indeed, we have a problem. But I think, again, underneath that, we have a situation where right now something's being proposed and we haven't seen the outreach. You know, this morning we had a room full of folks here for a wonderful presentation. And they're here because we like that. That's something wonderful the county's done. 5 years ago, there was a lot of commotion. There were trust issues here. And that was one of those things that everyone agreed on. It happened, and I'm very, very pleased to have seen that occur. But when it comes to these sticky things like tax increases and vehicle fees, we don't see the outreach we need. So I'll conclude by saying that concerns about transportation and congestion were number one on the county survey this year. And it would be great to have a presentation from our Government Affairs Department at one of the meetings about that. The public doesn't know what's going on. And when the public doesn't know what's going on, then somebody like me, and it doesn't necessarily have to be me, but someone like me shows up and starts a conversation that should already have been happening. So we need more outreach on this, and I think the public needs more justification for how we got to this number. And if that arrives, if that happens, I don't think you're going to have the angst that you're heading for right now. And one thing I can promise you, I don't have to do with anything at all. I don't have to write any letters. I don't have to come down here and talk any more about this for that angst to arrive. It's going to grow on its own. I know we're short on time here, but I just would say, since we don't have a big crowd, tonight there's a meeting on the carbon tax in Salem. In the Clackamas Review is my letter about a proposed vehicle registration fee. In the Portland Tribune is an article about Metro proposing upwards of a $2 billion transportation bond. We're looking at being told, there's a good word, we're being told that we're going to be told on roads that we've already paid for. In the meantime, the congestion's growing like mad. It's affecting the economy, it's affecting our safety, and it's really wasting a lot of people's time. So you're in a bit of a bad spot, but we better have better communication about this fee that's being proposed, and anything we can do for a forum, public discussion item, or anything we can do so the public understands what's going on. Most folks don't even know you can't use property taxes to fix the roads. So we got to tighten up what we're doing, and I'm happy to work on a lot of issues with the county. But right now, I'm not going to work for a vehicle registration fee, as you can tell. Thank you, as always.
Ken.
Yeah, as you're well aware, the board is considering whether or not we're going to do a vehicle registration fee. I just want to share a couple of things. One is we have no local source of funds for our roads at all. Washington County has 4 sources of local funding. Multnomah County has 2 sources of local funding. Plus, of course, we all get some funds from the state, but those are insufficient. So we have to look at how we're going to deal with the 1,400 miles of county roads that we have to take care of. That said, I have been going out to CPOs myself and discussing this with people in Beaver Creek, Rosewood, a couple of others that I've been to so far, and the response that I've gotten up to this point about it in general terms, not just overwhelming support or anything like that, but just in general terms is understanding of what our problem is, that we do need to address it, and that this is probably one of the few ways that we can address it. So there's been what I would call acceptance of the idea. I wouldn't call it enthusiastic, because none of us like paying more money for anything, myself included. I mean, it's going to cost me too. But when I have done outreach, I have found that people are pretty reasonably positively responsive to what the needs are, and that our hands are tied. In the final analysis, from my perspective, is that we not only have a responsibility to people today to make sure that their transportation system is functional, but we need to turn a functioning transportation system over to the next generation. And if we don't maintain these roads, they will not get better, they will get worse, and it will cost us way more money than it's going to cost us to do it properly and now. So, you know, I recognize that, again, none of us like to pay a lot of money, but we have a responsibility to the community to make sure that we make decisions that that take care of our transportation system both now and for the future. I can tell you this real quickly, to pave a road and keep it paved and keep it up it costs, say it costs $1. If you have to tear that road apart and completely rebuild that road because you have not maintained it, it will cost you $10. It costs you 10 times as much to replace the road than it does to repair it. So we don't want to be penny-wise and pound foolish either. And I'll leave it at that.
So I just want to say that I appreciate that you brought this issue up, because frankly, we really try to communicate. I used to say sometimes that the only way, you know, oftentimes you'll make a decision and all of a sudden these people come and they say, well, I didn't know anything about this. And we put doorknob hangers on, we send mailers, we do all this stuff, and people don't show. Like last night, we went to Happy Valley to talk about the Parks District, and 4 citizens showed. We were way overstaffed, and Happy Valley Council was there, many more. But we had a meeting Tuesday, September 18th at 7 p.m. at the Clackamas County Public Service Building, 497. Monday, October 15th, so 10 people showed. Monday, October 15th, at the Clackamas County Service Building, 35 people showed. Tuesday, October 23rd, Abernathy Center, 40 people showed. Thursday, November 1st, Estacada City Hall, 3 people showed. Monday, November 5th, at Estacada, also at Estacada Community Center, 22 people showed. Wednesday, November 7th, Redland Viola Fisher Mill CPO, approximately 50 people showed. Tuesday, November 13th, at Clackamas Community College, 1 person showed. Monday, November 19th, Malala Public Library, 8 people showed. Monday, November 26th, Roseville, Oak Grove, 24 people showed. Tuesday, November 27th, 8 people showed at the Resort at the Mountain in Welch's. Tuesday, December 7th, Milwaukee City Hall, 10 people showed. So we are making an effort. We haven't made this decision yet. We haven't voted on it. There will be a public hearing. Maybe we'll try to do it in the evening so we get more people here. But, you know, I have been waiting for the federal government to do some transportation plan, as has everybody else, for how many years? 20?
Well,
Is it that long?
When earmarks were rolled back and earmarks stopped is when our problems began.
Yep.
Which was, do you have any idea?
I don't.
I think Earl Blumenauer got the money for Lake Road was the last time, and that would have been somewhere around 2001, so.
Yeah,
it's
since I've been,
probably been that long.
yeah, since I've been a commissioner, there has been no earmarks.
So we're looking for everything. So I appreciate you voicing that. Remember the Selwood Bridge, I don't specifically remember you, but if the money was spent in Clackamas County, you would support it. And that's what we're looking to the community to say yes on. So we'll keep reaching out, and we're not going to do this over Christmas holiday, so no one can
When nobody
show
pays
up.
attention.
And I'm going to meet with you, and I'll give you a little more information. And I'm sorry we have to reschedule because Bob Moore from Bob's Red Mill is that day we were going to have lunch is he's being honored, and I know Bob Moore pretty well, and I thought I should thank him for all he does for Milwaukee Center. So I'm going to try to schedule something over the Christmas holiday with you, and I appreciate you making
And
the offer.
Speaking of Bob Moore, I can't say enough good things about him myself. And he contributes food. I wanted to mention, you just jogged my memory, but this Saturday we will be delivering the 450 food and gift boxes that the Lions has put together. And the donations typically come from Bob and people like him. So that tells us all how valuable our business community is. I just heard a gentleman here mention how many scholarships he's provided as a business member. So no time for a long discussion there, but I do appreciate the response. And yeah, let's fill this room with people that understand that we've got a problem, we need to address it, rather than people that feel uninformed and are here with knives and pitchforks.
We'll do our best.
Well, we definitely would appreciate that.
Paul would like to
None of us
add
do.
something.
Yeah, so I've been listening pretty intently, and I guess I'll start with the last piece to keep things going and then cover what I really wanted to say. And that is whether it's the Parks District meeting last night or, or the one on Monday night in Oak Grove or even some of these, I think when you're asking the public to attend a meeting, I think convenience or interest or what the topic is are all things that are factored in as far as how attendance and people attend these things. And my reservations about the Parks District, you may recall, was ain't necessarily the best time of the year to be talking to people. It's Christmas time, a lot of things going on. The weather is sometimes challenging for people, so turnout is not always the best. And the topic itself, that's really got to be in our preparation. I mean, how it's advertised. And I'm not saying that we all have the right answers and there's a silver bullet to doing it, but I think there are some things that one can anticipate around this time of the season that you're not going to get a lot of turnout. But when people need to remember that what transportation is all about, and I know that at least on this topic and the way we've been talking about it, it's been about more on the maintenance side of repairing things. And, segue back to what I just started with, that's not really sexy to a lot of people. What's on people's minds is right now is about moving people. Transportation has been, its origin is about moving people. People were stunned at the fact that, when they look back at history, that the Army, the military they built a lot of roads. They built a lot of roads because they needed to get from point A to point B for emergencies. We got to realize that when someone calls 911, they need to be able to have an emergency responder, the fire department, whatever it may be, get to that place. And as advanced as we are from way back when the military is building roads in the Northwest, right now our challenge is congestion. That's the topic. That's what people are passionate about. And if we're going to raise money for transportation, for the fundamental reasons of what transportation is all about, we ought to be doing something that resonates or have a solution to some of these problems. I remember just a week ago, or a couple days, or actually 7 or 8 days ago, when Commissioner Bernard and Commissioner Humberston arrived at the Chamber of Commerce in Mount Hood for that event in the morning. And your remarks about, I couldn't believe we took the back roads and they're all full of people driving to work. That's the challenge. It doesn't matter where you are in Clackamas County, everyone is experiencing record congestion. Washington County, Multnomah County, that's what's hot. That's what's going to drive people. And I will just use an example of my point about attendance. ODOT held some meetings on tolling and issue around congestion. And I'll tell you, everyone I went to had a lot of people. I mean, probably more people in total were at those meetings than what we've had so far. So again, it's got to resonate with people. And we need to just be cognizant of what transportation is about and how important it is right now that we actually think about moving people and what we're all about. So I'll stop there.
I want to add one thing. We are doing 2 more meetings in January about the NCPRD issue, one on the east, one on the west. And so we hope there'll be much more attendance. And then, yes, I was shocked how many people are coming from Estacada to go to work. And I was just amazed to see the traffic. And then the other night, I drove to Wilsonville, and I was amazed how many people were on that road coming towards Canby and other parts. The challenge is building a new road is a different story. Anyway, Ken.
You touched on what I wanted to leave this conversation with, and that is, let's not mix and match things. There's 1,400 miles of county roads. That's something we have an actual voice in, whether or not we can fix, repair, and maintain. And that's what the VRF may well be all about if we go down that road. But the state highways, like we saw coming out of Estacada, and the federal highways, which we're all familiar with, those are not our ballpark. We can support trying to get things done on those things and be active on that, and we are being active on those things, but they are separate from maintaining our own infrastructure here in Clackamas County. And I don't want to see those things mixed together in people's minds as if somehow we have the ability to make a state highway bigger or a federal highway bigger. We don't have that ability. It's not in our bailiwick. But we do have the ability to maintain our 1,400 miles of county roads, and that is something we need to get focused on. And I'll leave it at that, Mr. Chairman.
Good conversation, and I'll leave on kind of an interesting note. Paul jogged my memory. A lot of folks don't realize that the Sunset Highway was built during the war, ran right through Seaside and right out on the beach so we could defend the Oregon coast in World War II. And I've seen pictures of them training and how, if you look at it, now there's a turnaround there, but before the turnaround, you went right through the middle of town and Highway 26 dumped you on the beach. So things have changed a little bit. And I've noticed the congestion has grown a little bit on that road as well, so.
Yeah, and a lot of the roads I drive on in Canby were old farm roads or cattle paths. Milwaukee, Johnson Creek Boulevard was an old cattle path, and they just built a road right over it. And you know that they did some great work under that road.
Yeah, I just want to respond to Commissioner Humberson's comments, and not here to argue, but actually we have a tremendous role, frankly, in the state and the federal highways, because the federal government's not going to wake up one day and say, oh, by the way, we actually need to look at Oregon. We have to bring it to their attention. It's our top legislative agendas are those interstates and those highways, and that is our responsibility. And we have seats at the table, we have a voice, and unless we communicate, they don't know. So the way our system is in this state, how we fund roads or deal with issues, regardless whose facility it is, it's everyone's involved. And so we do have a significant role in that. And I spend a significant amount of my time as a commissioner doing just that on behalf of this county.
I think Ken says that we're not responsible to pay for that road. Actually, we already do.
We are.
In gas taxes and everything else, but the money that we would get out of the VRF would be maintenance, or, I've kind of changed the way I look at that VRF or other monies in actually some capital investments too, and if there's an opportunity. For example, we're buying up land in Sunrise Phase 2 to try to, and some of that property we sold, that money's going to go to buying up right away and paying the debt we own other departments. But we're thinking ahead, and we should have this conversation. Except we'd be here all day. Well, thank you.
Another hour. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. With that, we're on to consent agenda.
Okay, today's consent agenda. Under Health, Housing, and Human Services, approval of subrecipient grant agreement number 19006 with Folk Time, Inc. for peer-directed mental health support services in Clackamas County. Under the Department of Transportation and Development, approval of local agency agreement number 32579 with Oregon Department of Transportation for federal fund exchange for rural intersection and curve warnings. Approval of a contract with Quincy Engineering for the Bull Run Bridge, Bull Run Road report. Under Finance, approval of contract documents with Centus Corporation for first aid supplies and services using the U.S. Community Cooperative Contract. Under elected officials, request by the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office to enter into amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the State of Oregon Marine Board, and approval of the Clackamas County investment policy from the Clackamas County Treasurer's Office. That concludes today's consent agenda.
Thank you, Mary. Do any of the commissioners want to remove or pull an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for hanging on during that discussion, Sonia.
Absolute pleasure.
What'd she say?
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you. So next up is Commissioner Communication, and so we can get you off the phone earlier. If you'd like to communicate something, please do. I skipped the administrator. First, Don, you're up.
And I've got some really valuable things to share with you.
Okay.
So first off, you know, we all know about calling 911, that it can save your life. A lot of folks don't know about calling 211. And of course, calling 211 can get residents needed help by connecting them to human service resources like food assistance, energy and water assistance, and health needs. And I just wanted to relay to you that the county has recently expanded its partnership with the local 211 network to support the goals of our Youth Continuum Committee. This committee, which includes representatives from our Juvenile Department, Health, Housing, and Human Services, and the Sheriff's Department, really works to unify, increase, and enhance services for young people between the ages of 8 and 25. I just wanted to thank the members of this committee for their efforts. Then a quick note, you all know Nora Yatsoff, working in our disaster management department. She recently wrote a journal abstract and has received international acknowledgement for this article. It has been accepted by an organization known as the Wessex Institute. It's known throughout the world of serving the international scientific community. And Nora has been invited to present her paper next September to a conference in Ancona, Italy. And the title of her paper is Incorporating Climate Science to Disaster Risk Reduction, a very relevant subject. So I just wanted to congratulate Nora on her success there. And then I'm also very happy to relay to you that I did receive a copy of the 2018 grand jury report that examines the state of our correctional facilities. And, you know, per Oregon law, we are required every year to have the grand jury evaluate the condition and management of our correctional facility and our youth correctional facilities as well. And 2 weeks ago, this review took place. There was an inspection of the county jail and the Juvenile Intake and Assessment Center and the Clackamas Substance Abuse Program and Work Release Center. The reports, I believe, were the most positive I've seen to date, and I just wanted to share some excerpts from the report. They said, throughout our inquiry, we witnessed Clackamas County is represented by creative, efficient, and dedicated public servants who exhibit exemplary service to the community. And the group also said that the current jail is a well-maintained, orderly, and well-managed facility. The conditions throughout were clean, sanitary, and well-kept. It was clear that the jail staff were very compassionate and committed to the health and welfare of the inmates. And I just wanted to say what a great job our correctional staff have been doing. And one last thing, I just received this letter yesterday from AT&T. They have directed this letter to the director of our Department of Transportation and Development, and they say this holiday season, AT&T extends its appreciation to Clackamas County for its continued reasonable and predictable processing of permits so that citizens, visitors, business community, and emergency responders of Clackamas County can enjoy the numerous benefits of wireless service. Clackamas County's efforts to streamline and facilitate a well-managed development process are vital to the community. The letter goes on to specifically acknowledge the contributions of Andrew Yaden, Elizabeth Dance, Scott Holscher for providing excellent customer service, and they say on behalf of the entire team at AT&T, we thank you for your commitment to excellent service in 2018 and look forward to working with your department in the coming new year. Just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you, and I wondered if there were any rooms available over the holiday at the jail.
I think I could make arrangements for you, if you'd like.
Thanks. Well, we hope we won't see you there.
I understand the dinner menu is very inviting, so.
Yes. And the price is cheap until you get your lawyer bill. So up, Sonia.
Okay, thank you. I had a chuckle when you mentioned a room over the holidays at the jail. I've been through the county jail, as most of us have, and I do recall dining there for lunch, and the food wasn't so bad. I was very impressed with the quality of the food at the jail. So that's just a little aside there. I wanted to mention, I know that we are getting ready for the holidays, but also what we're getting ready for is a legislative session that will begin very, very soon. I expect that most of us have reviewed, at least in summary, the governor's budget that was just proposed. There is so much in the governor's budget that is so relevant to us here at the local level. It's almost, when you read through it, almost everything that she's proposing touches us in some way, if not directly through funding streams, through our interest in making sure that our residents are well cared for. So this budget is a pretty substantial budget that really looks to move Oregon forward. I think it's going to take all of us in working with our legislative delegation to make the correct investments that are important to us. I really appreciated, Chair Bernard, you going through the list of the community meetings today and discussing how many people are present at different community meetings. I think it is absolutely imperative that we prioritize getting out there, talking with our constituents, and really narrowing in on what is most important to them as we proceed with the new efforts that are happening at the state level. I'm still very cognizant of the fact that just over 50% of our voters passed the Metro housing bonds. So I think we have a huge responsibility in making sure that we are good stewards of those resources and that we are very connected with what our constituents want us to do. So with that, I will say thank you so much to all the staff, to Dawn, to Brenda, to Caroline, to Mary for facilitating my participation via phone today with this meeting. Very important to stay connected while we are away. And I've appreciated my time. I don't get to see my grandchildren very often because they don't live in the state, but I have spent some time here over the last few days with grandchildren while balancing county commissioning. So thank you so very much.
And thank you for your time. Have a great weekend.
Merry Christmas.
Well, she's got one more meeting next week.
Okay.
I just checked on the calendar. All? Thank you.
Yeah, well, actually, we kind of covered some of the things I wanted to chat about a little bit today briefly, but I just wanted to add a little bit to the discussion we had last week about accessibility and making sure that the context in which I was talking about was really about people's ability, anyone's ability to reliably access all of us at one particular time, not individually. And I do appreciate each of us. Jim, you mentioned it last week. We do make ourselves accessible. If someone wants to reach out and say, I want to talk to you, Commissioner Bernard or Commissioner Savas, we do avail ourselves to chat with people individually. But I guess what I was referring to, and just for clarification, was that having a place, whether you're a district or whether you're a commission or whatever it may be, or whatever hat we're wearing, that at a regular basis, anyone can say, well, that board or that commission meets on this particular time, place, and we are reliably there and we are reliably accessible as a body. I do know that it's very cumbersome, especially for people that are working, and most people do work, to try and meet with a commissioner or all 5 commissioners individually. That would be a burden, and also engaging in the dialogue and having conversations or deliberations and discussions with the entire body is far more productive and valuable than it is to do it individually one-on-one. So I just wanted to add that clarification. I'm a big believer that I think that's actually an element of transparency, and I think it's got tremendous value. And when it comes to the NCPRD, or it comes to, because this is the topic it came up with, or Wes and so on, all of our different hats we wear, even the Housing Authority to some degree, I think we can do, we can do a better job of availing ourselves. And I think that with the investments they make in paying their rates or the taxes or however that those fees are collected, our staff and ourselves, owe it to, on the very premise of what public meetings and public records are all about, avail ourselves regularly and reliably. And that's what I have for today.
All right, thank you. Ken?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, just basically my time over the last week or two, besides our, excuse me, our regular meetings and prep for those meetings, has been attendance at a variety of events, a number of holiday events with various constituency groups. Obviously, the NCPRD Community Conversation events, attended both of those. CPOs such as the Rosewood, Beaver Creek, and Rhododendron CPOs, and quite a number of individual constituent coffees. So that has kept me busy with outreach to our community. And on that note, I will move on to the dog. So this is Comet. Like his name suggests, he's a busy guy who will do best in a home that understands how to train and set boundaries. He's a bit hand-shy of people. Playing ball and tug are 2 of his favorite things. He has a high drive for things that move, so he will probably not be safe around backyard chickens and will love to chase squirrels and wild bunnies. Please come in to meet him and talk with an adoption counselor to learn more. For more information about Comet or other adoptable dogs, please contact Dog Services at 503-655-8628 or www.clackamas.us/dogs, and go say hi to Comet.
Great, thanks. I guess you wouldn't do good at my yard with my chickens.
Not.
So I did the annual jail inspection, which I have done for many years. The jail is a very old building. We do need a new jail, but that's obviously not in the cards. I have an opportunity to ask an inmate, a guest, how they're being treated, which I do, and and I got a fairly satisfactory answer that they certainly didn't enjoy the place, but they were well cared for, and they got the food they needed, and were able to stay warm. It's certainly not a place you ever want to stay the night, but it is a place that people should visit. And most of the people in there are your neighbors and who just mess up. And that's normally what the folks are there for messing up, doing stupid things. But the other thing, we had some talk about Oak Grove Jennings Lodge and the pressures of development that is heading our way. And, one of the things I would say has been pretty consistent is we are often reactive rather than proactive. And I think we need to talk about how we can be a little more proactive. The comp plan for Clackamas County is very old, and we need to take a look at how we can protect ourselves, be proactive rather than reactive for what's coming our way. I mean, we had a Stafford meeting the other day, And there's one consistent thing, you know, everyone's afraid of change, but change is gonna happen. You have to be prepared for it, or change runs right over the top of you. And so it's true throughout the county. Every community, Estacada, Malala, it's not just about Oak Grove Jennings Lodge, it's about the county, and we need to be ready and proactive. So I'm going to be talking to the rest of the commissioners about how we can do that. Milwaukee, you know, is getting ready, but for a time I lived in Selwood, and I don't like what Portland's done to some of those communities. People who invest a lot of money in a home and then suddenly have a 5-story building behind their backyard, that's just not appropriate and should never be allowed. And that's why I talked a little bit about, restrictions on design of structures that characterize the neighborhood. And lots of communities have done that. Old Town, Wilsonville has done that. Was recently in Palm Springs, and Palm Springs has done that. They don't allow large, oversized buildings, even though they sure seem to have one big one going on right now. But anyway, I want to be proactive, and then I'll get to you in a second. I want to make sure I get this out before I forget it, because it's important. Damascus disincorporated. And if you're a former resident looking for your disincorporated fund distribution, if you qualify, we've got a check for you. We've done our best to find everyone who's entitled to distribution, but we have received 75 checks returned as undeliverable due to incorrect or no forwarding address. So if you are eligible and you haven't got your check, you need to check with the county. Time's running out to claim your distribution. This was set by the court, by the state, right? January, and you must come to Clackamas County Assessment or Taxation Department before January 4th at 5 p.m. If you don't, I will. You can contact the Assessment and Taxation Office to see if they have a check waiting for you at 503-655-8671, or email damascusrefund@clackamas.us. If you're not sure you qualified, please go onto the web and look at the site www.clackamas.us and look for that check, and hopefully you got one in your name there. I wish I did. Paul.
Oh, I just want to, I actually, and I'll save it for last, but I wanted to just do one shout out, but I'm going to wait to the last. I just want to respond in that I think that back in 2010, when I was running, I realized that the Stafford area, because you mentioned that, was charged with their kind of putting together a vision plan, and at the same time, the one in McLaughlin was underway as well, the MAP plan, and it wasn't reactive; it was really proactive. And so I really think, frankly, that Stafford and the McLaughlin area both really set or created a model that ought to be followed, and actually are in the lead. And it was actually something that the county asked for. So. I think we have, again, an opportunity to learn from those and then look at the model they came up with. I'm not saying it's the blueprint for every community in Clackamas County, but I think it really speaks to a common denominator in what we all believe in. That's our community and our neighborhoods. That's really valued. So I appreciate you saying that, Jim. I really think a greater conversation is in need. And after our December 4th meeting, I appreciate you picking up that cue. And we had kind of for those who don't know, we had a pretty significant conversation on December 4th in a work session. And really, I think it boils down to community. But thank you for sharing that today, Jim. My shout out is for those of you who watched the screen today and saw the consent agenda and saw the dog, you probably saw some great colors and the Christmas theme in there. And my shout outs to Mary Rathke. Mary Rathke, her personal touch to the county, regardless of the season, is significant. And I just want to say that I really love the green. I love what you did this year. Just great. I just want to say thank you. And I think your personal touch in how the office is maintained and how it looks and presents itself is something that I've always appreciated. So thank you.
I thought the exact thing when I saw that little thing on the bottom of the scene after the, on the consent agenda. Yeah.
And she's awesome clerk for the
Yes.
board as well.
Anyway, unless there's any other business, we're adjourned. Thank you.